Hello and welcome, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of the Let's Talk Fabulous with Tamara show. I am your guest host, Kim O'Neill, and today we have a very heartwarming episode for you. We are going to be talking about coming home, sharing a very special adoption story. Let's talk. All right. Hello, Christine and Nick.
Hello.
Hello.
So excited to have you both here today. I've already expressed to our two guests today how heartwarming I found their story to be, and I believe that everyone watching today, whether you're watching live or on the replay, you will also get something out of this. So thank you for being here with us today, and do let us know down in the comments, wherever you watch today, what you're taking away. And with that, let's go ahead and do a little quick introduction here. I'm going to start with Christine. Christine, give everyone just a brief introduction of who you are and where are you located in the world as well.
Sure. I'm Christine Clifton. I live in a little village called Saxbaha in kind of central North Kakalaki, as we like to say. I am a coach / guide / consultant for soul-powered entrepreneurs and professionals. And I basically help them get clear on what they want to do and help them get there.
Awesome. And in North Kakalaki, did I say that right?
Yes.
That's actually really fun to say. North Kakalaki. Okay. That's on the East Coast of the US, correct?
It is.
It is.
Okay. Awesome. And I'm on the West Coast here, so we've got both coasts covered. And Nick, tell us about yourself and where you're located.
All right. I'm Nick. I'm a musician and a political activist. I live in Summerfield, North Kakalaki. And so we'll get to that part soon.
Awesome. Okay, so we are here today to tell your story of coming home, a very special adoption story. And why don't we start with Christine? Will you tell us with how did this first come together for you? Because when we talk about adoption, we know we're referring to the past, but it's something that resurfaces in the present. And tell us how this came about in the present.
Well, in the present, I was having the most full work day that I'd had in a very long time, meeting after meeting after meeting, and I work virtually, so hardly time to breathe or piddle, as we would say, right? And I was just checking my phone in between appointments, and I saw this text, and the text said something like, "Hi, this is Nick." And then I saw something highlighted about like adoption.com. And I was like, what? And I looked a little closer, and I'm like, I'm like, this is odd. Like, initially I thought this is a scam, or something like that, but I didn't have time to look at it closely. So I got a longer break and I looked at it a little more closely, and it was a real pragmatic text. There wasn't a lot in it. And I was like, I know I didn't register at that website, in terms of being putting my birth mother info on that website. Like, that doesn't sound right to me. So I go on to the next, meeting or whatever, and then I have a phone call like an hour or so later, and it's from Nick, and the content was more warm. Now, of course, it's a voicemail, so you hear a little more intonation, right, with that as well. And I thought, okay, like there's something going on here. So I quickly went to the website to kind of see if I had an account there. I didn't have an account there. So I created an account, I logged in, and there came up a match on that adoption website. And I was like, like, this is it. This is it. Now, what I didn't tell you was I'm kind of like the queen of Google. Like I can find things on Google that most people can't. So I was Googling the phone number, Googling the name, like trying to find all kinds of I couldn't find a dang thing,
Okay.
So
I know I do that too.
Paper dots.
Yeah.
in this day and age, right? And so I literally had like 45 minutes in between one appointment and the next. And I'm like, what the hey? I'm going to call. And I call and I hear hello. And I said, Nick. And I think he said Christine. And we both just start laughing. And I'm like, who, what, how, when, something like that. I can't remember. Nick could probably tell you more. And we just spent what felt like probably 2 days and 45 minutes just with lots of detail. So I'll breathe there. I'm sure there's more detail there, but I don't know if Nick wants to swoop in at this point and kind of tell his perspective of that.
Well, yeah, Nick. Okay, Nick, I'm going to put you in the hot seat. Thank you
All
for
right.
all that,
All
Christine.
right.
Nick, I have to know, how did you find her? So I'm guessing you found her through adoption.com, but Christine didn't have an account there. So how did that even connect?
Yeah, so I initially I was kind of doing some sleuthing about my I guess I'll just refer to them as my adoptive family. So I was going through some family history with my adoptive family, actually uncovering a lot. And so I'm getting acquainted with Ancestry, and I'm figuring maybe if I submit my DNA, I might be able to get a few hits. Actually, I got very limited hits. So I went online to kind of see, what's a good alternative for people who've been adopted, right? And I was given a recommendation to this link. I visit the link, and it says, do this and that, and you can find some information. And I got pretty close. I got 2 matches for free, and one was my birthday and one wasn't. And basically it was like, if you pay the $15, you can see if there's a contact or last name, blah, blah, blah. And I say, I'm already on the go. What the hey? Just go ahead and pay the $15. And I got a last name and I got a phone number. And I was just totally blown away because I was like, because you don't know, right? And so I like my mom did, I just kind of sleuthed around, what's this number, last name included, and many results came up. And what got me though was seeing the location, because that almost made it seem like a scam, because I was like, North Carolina, I was born in Maryland, the chances are so slim. And so I took the chance and just try to double check all of the information and just pulled the trigger and did exactly what Christine shared. And so yeah, here I am.
So we've already got this mother-son likeness where like, I'm going to dig and then I'm just going to go for it.
Yes.
My whole life.
Oh, I love that. Okay. So let's go. Is it time to go backwards, to go back into like how this all originated? Does that feel appropriate, Christine?
Let's see. Yeah, why not?
Okay. So tell us, how did this all originate?
Yeah, sure. So, let's see. My first job away from home was in Southern Maryland. I had gotten a job as a management trainee for a tertiary retailer, which just for those of you who don't understand that term, it's like just for small communities, right? It's like the primary department store, but for a tiny little community. And so I was in the management trainee program. I'd been there for a few months at this store, met this guy, started dating. Obviously got
Things
together.
One thing leads to another.
One thing leads to another. And I, let's see. Oh, I was not taking contraceptive at the time. I'm like, oh, I better hop on this thing, right? So I went to the doctor, had my exam, and they ask you like, any chance you're pregnant? I said, there's always a chance, and my boyfriend at the time said something like, you're not fertile myrtle, are you? I'm like,
gee,
no, I'm not fertile myrtle. And so the doctor did the exam. He's like, you're not pregnant, you're good. I'm like, okay, excellent. So I started on the pill, and we kept dating. I'm losing weight, I'm having a good time in this new place, making all these new friends and whatnot. And the next year, that was like October, November when I had the doctor's appointment. And then for some reason, I felt like just off in the shower one day. It was like mid to late, I don't know, mid to late February, something like that. And I don't know why the first thing I thought of was to go get a pregnancy test, but I did. And it was positive. And I'm like, there's no way. Look, I'm looking at, so we do it again and it's positive. And I'm like, okay, well, there's got to be something to this. So of course I call my boyfriend, tell him what's up, and that I had made an appointment, to go to the doctor to get a real test. And back in the day, they didn't have those like Insta tests or whatever, at least,
Okay.
from the doctor. So I had to go give a sample, come back. So I'm sitting in the doctor's office and he's taking forever. And I can see my file on the desk, across the desk. And I'm just like sitting there going, come on. So I creeped around the side of the desk. I flipped open the folder and I'm looking like at the number. And then, it has these ranges like first trimester, second trimester, whatever. And I'm looking at it and it said second trimester. And I'm like, oh, there's no way. Like I'm reading this wrong. And then I hear footsteps coming. So I like slam the folder shut, I run back around to my chair and sit down. And he comes in and he's like, so we're here to talk about, and I'm like, yeah. So he opens the folder, he looks, he goes, you're 8 weeks. And I said, okay, cool. Obviously I misread it. And so I said, what are my options? And there was just like time stood still for a moment. Like, I don't know what happened or what his belief system were about a woman's right to choose, but I think it was a little different than mine. And I got kind of shuttled off to this side office, and they kind of slipped me this brochure and just kind of, sent me on my way. So I came home, talked to my boyfriend. We agreed that we weren't going to continue the pregnancy. So I scheduled the procedure. My roommate took me, and I was a little nervous, but I was, confident in terms of my decision. So I'm on the table having my exam, and all of a sudden I hear the doctor say, I can't do this procedure. You're at least more than 16 weeks along.
Wow.
And I like, okay, first of all, I'm nervous. I'm naked, on the table. And I'm like, it just isn't computing. And I remember kind of walking back out. My girlfriend was supposed to meet me in recovery, and I'm walking into the, waiting room, and she's there like confused. So we get outside, and I told her what they said, and they had given me a referral to a sonogram. So we go right over to the sonogram place, and they're doing the sonogram, and it's like an out-of-body experience. Truly, I'm looking at the screen and I'm seeing the shape of this baby on the screen, and I'm just like, how can that be my body? Like, it just can't be my body. It was just so surreal.
So you were okay. So let's just recap. So you were 4 months pregnant and really didn't know it until you'd gone to the doctor. Is that?
Yes, exactly.
Those kinds of stories blow my mind. That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah. And I had an irregular period before even, I started dating. And on the pill, it was here and there and spotty, that was normal. Abnormal was normal, right, to me. And I was losing weight. I had no symptoms whatsoever. I mean, none of this stuff. And so you can't really explain it. And so actually I still have the sonogram, believe it or not. So when Nick found me, I went to my lockbox and opened it up to see to see all the paperwork I had saved from everything. And I think it said 20 weeks. I think the sonogram actually showed 20 weeks.
Wow.
So I was essentially halfway done when I found out I was pregnant.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're 5 months pregnant, and you just finding out, just processing it, and I don't recall. Were you and your boyfriend in love? Was there that deep of a connection?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, I had to break the news to him, and they had also, the sonogram place also gave me like lots of materials and like what your options are, or like what to do, just resources, this
Right.
agency or that agency, whatever. And one of them was about late term abortion. And I went home, talked to my boyfriend, and he wanted that option. And I said, that's not my choice. That if because at that point you have to go through labor even after the procedure. And I said, if I'm going through labor, there's going to be a live baby at the end of that thing, not a dead one. So he wasn't thrilled, but that was my choice. And so from that point on, being the get her done kind of kind of gal that I am, and again, we didn't have the interwebs back then either. So I opened the phone book and said, where can I find an adoption agency? And the adoption agency I chose was called American Friends of Children. And I just thought that was such a good name. Like, it just sounded like they were advocacy for kids. It was the A's. So obviously I didn't get too far in the phone book before I chose. And I don't think I shopped around. I don't think it was like getting a contractor bid, and getting 3 of them. But I just asked a lot of questions, and I felt solid. And that's what, what happened next. Yeah.
Okay. Well, so Nick, we are going to get to your side of the story too. But as you know, you're still kind of silent party to this whole event.
Yeah. Not many memories so far.
Yeah. Okay. I want to take a moment and pause. I want to highlight one of our audience comments here. We have Helene, who is saying, God wanted to see Nick Brown to be born, and I am happy he is here. And just want to definitely highlight that. We are also glad. And
if I could real quick,
yeah.
Helene, when Nick and I met the day after he found me, and I told him his full origin story, that's exactly what I said to him. I said, do you realize how special you are? You were meant to be in this world. I'm getting chills all over my body saying it right now. So yes, Helene, I'm with you. Yes.
Okay, we have so much more story to share, but we're just going to take a quick little moment, and we'll be right back.
Give me love like never before. I wait for you, my darling, that's for sure. Give me love like never before. And I wait for you, my darling, that's for sure. I feel the sunshine in my heart.
All right, so we are back, and it's already so juicy and fun hearing the story of how Christine and Nick reunited and came back together, how it was all created. So, okay, so Christine, so you and your boyfriend were in love. You're 5 months pregnant, just finding out. You decided not to go the route of abortion and decided to move towards adoption. And so, was your boyfriend? We have close to an hour here, so we're going to get as many details as we can here because it's such a good story. So, okay, so how did your boyfriend feel about adoption? What were his thoughts?
Well, again, it wasn't his preference, but he respected my decision, and he could have ran off in the other direction and said, see ya, wouldn't want to be ya. And he didn't do that. He was with me. We still dated. And I continued working until I couldn't hide my bump anymore. I didn't want them to know at work that, why I didn't show at 20 weeks, go figure. I don't know, but I wasn't. And so that's when the agency then took over, and I relocated to a town about an hour and a half away so that I could still be close to my boyfriend. And so we kind of had, a longish distance relationship, if you want to call it that, where he'd come up on the weekends, and I call that my incubation period. So, I went up there to incubate, and I worked as a temp in a title company as a receptionist, just so I didn't go completely stir crazy. And that was that little segment of the period of time. Yeah.
Okay, so now tell us about so the next 4 months, here you are now aware of what's going on and feeling, I'm imagining feeling just the hormones and all the stuff that's flowing through you, when a woman's pregnant. And how were you processing this decision that I'm gonna, I'm gonna go the route of adoption? I know your situation's a little unique. Well, share with us what was going on for you in that time.
Oh, I'm glad you asked that question. It actually started much sooner than that. When I found out I was 20 weeks, I almost instantaneously knew that I was going to bring this child into the world for another couple. Like, I just knew. And some might say, oh, she's delusional or in denial or something like that. And I don't think I was. I told my friend, her name's Nancy, as we were driving away from the sonogram place and heading back home again, I said, I feel like a surrogate. I feel like I was meant to have this child for another family. And I knew that I could change my mind at any time. And I had the best doctors, GYN, OBGYN, and I get chills just talking about them because they were, without pressing me or being, like strong arming me. They were like, Christine, you can change your mind at any time. I'm like, I know that I can. And thank you. And I appreciated that. I'm like, no, I'm solid. And so I felt solid the whole time of my decision.
Christine, I think that's the part that gets me so much, just really like hits the heart, is hearing that you felt like a surrogate, because I just think that's such a beautiful thing. Like, number one, it's such a gift, right, for another family. And I don't think most people have that awareness. I could be wrong. Maybe most people do. But that is just so wonderful. And I'm grateful for you that you were able to maintain that knowing and that feeling throughout the rest of your pregnancy, so that it sounds like you didn't get mixed up, right? Other people may have been confused, like, what is she doing? She's crazy.
Let me tell you, yes, my mom wanted to take it and raise it.
You're not an it, Nick. We know.
And God bless
Whatever
her,
works.
That's what she wanted. And I unfortunately needed to set a boundary there, and chose not to talk with her for quite a while because it was an extra stressor, that I couldn't take. And again, I feel like some people might look at that and say, well, she's in denial or she's mentally ill to think that she thinks she's a surrogate. But I wasn't delusional. My perspective was that this was, just a knowing. And once I got more into my woo side, as I got, more spiritually awakened, I can look back and see that this was one of the most pervasive times in my life where my intuition was really neon signing me, like that this was the right choice. Part of the process with the agency was we got profiles of families, and we got to choose the family that we wanted to place with. And so my boyfriend and I went through we had 6 profiles. We went through the profiles and read them both. And then I said, you go on that side of the room and rank them, 1 to 6, what your preference would be, and I'll rank mine. And we both chose the same first place, first choice family. So that was easy peasy, fresh and easy. So it was, again, might be hard to explain to other people, but it was our decision. And not to skip too far ahead, but we dated afterwards as well, after Nick was born.
Okay.
And after Nick was placed. So we continued to date.
Wow. Okay. So, and I'll maybe jump a little ahead here. Is he still alive? I know that's Nick's birth father. Is he still around?
He is still around. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And is that, I don't know if this is going too far, is Nick able to meet him, or have you met him, or is that
Well, I'm happy to speak to that. I told Nick, I think I know where he lives. And if he wanted me to, because of the super sleuth that I am, I said, I think I could find him. And would he want me to do that? So I wouldn't have done it if Nick wasn't interested. And he's like, sure, go ahead. And it took me about a week, and I was able to finally find him. There, like Nick, there wasn't much on the interwebs that I could locate, but I finally found an email that he then responded to, I think then a week after that. And his original decision was that he didn't want See, it's hard to explain. It wasn't necessarily a closed adoption, but he didn't want the child to be able to get details about him.
Okay.
And I did. And so to whatever we need to do with the adoption file to make that happen. And I respected that. That was his decision. And so my desire when I reached out to him 33 years later was to say, I mean, hey, did you change your mind? Right? I mean, he may not have, and that was fine. And so I sent a very cryptic message because I didn't know if it was the right person or not. Right? So the message was something like, hey, remember that project we both worked on, at X and X town, well, it came back again, right? Like,
Came back.
and I just wondered, if the results of that were, the one, you wanted to stick with the same decision, or something like that. I can't remember exactly my words. Yeah. So, and so his response was he was just a very upstanding, respectful human being. And his response was very much the same thing.
Okay.
And that he needed time to make a decision. So we haven't yet, or I'll say I haven't yet heard back from him.
Okay.
And I don't know if we will, but again, it's his choice. And one of the things I'll say about Nick this whole time is Nick has taught me so much about being unattached to people's reactions, responses, decisions, and I think I'm really good at that. I'm a coach and all that kind of stuff, but I could see so many places that I wasn't in this particular scenario where I had these expectations of people. So Nick really has taught me a lot about kind of releasing expectations. So I send the birth dad lots of love, and whatever his decision is perfectly perfect.
Absolutely.
Thank you for speaking to that, and I'm glad we addressed that, so we can set that aside, completely respecting and honoring his decision, acknowledging him. But we are going to be moving into Nick in just a moment here and get the other side of this story. I want to quickly, just the whole aspect of, when you mentioned that Nick helped you, helped teach you more about I'm going to say the art of detachment. Okay, I think so many of us, right? We've all had to learn and practice that. Let me know in the comments if you can relate, and we're going to give it one of these.
Oh.
Apropos.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't want to cut Nick off as soon as we get started. So we're going to take another quick little break, just refreshing our memory about the tour of love that is going to be coming up again at some point. And when we come back, we're going to hear more of Nick's side of the story and continue this beautiful, beautiful story. Here we go.
The word is out. The Tour of Love show is coming back.
Let me tell you, with our amazing reach and the success with our international audience, E360 TV is excited to have us back.
And boy, could the world use some higher vibes now.
Today, more than ever, people are feeling the pain. They're feeling like, what is going on, and love can absolutely change the world.
Raising the frequency through love.
Oh, hi, I'm Fran Kaplan, the Guinness Book of World Records fastest talking female in the world. I also hold 9 world records. I did a book signing on top of Kilimanjaro down by the wreck site of the Titanic. I've written 22 books. I'm a comic. I do a lot of things. But the thing that I'm really excited about now is that I am joining the Tour of Love. And I am going to be joining it with a lot of talented people.
It's that energy that connects us to dreams, our imagination, our faith. It's about being love connected. It's joy, love, laughter. It's the love in finding our purpose and why we're here at this time. It's finding the love along the journey, trusting the destination will be determined by each step.
I mean, my philosophy is live every day as if it's your last, and one day you'll be right.
If you're ready to join us on this journey, well, the time is now, and the need is now. It's time for the Tour of Love show.
All right. So we are back talking about the story of coming home, a very special adoption story with Christine Clifton and Nick Brown over in North Kakalaki, and how they've reunited. I love it. So, Christine, thank you for that detailed, origin story leading up to the birth of Nick. And I'm actually gonna transition over into Nick's side of the story, because I know there's lots of more details. I was like, oh, we could ask her about this and this and this and this. We want to make sure we and we want to make sure we hear from Nick first. So Nick, happy birthday.
Yeah.
And tell us your side of things. Here you are, this kid growing up. What was your experience of all this?
Well, I mean, I always knew I was adopted. This was never something I had to learn or had to be, slowly introduced to. It was something that was, before I could even remember, it was told to me, expressed to me. So it was almost like a badge of honor. Like I could walk around and it was like, this is what makes me unique. My parents love me deeply, even though I don't come from them. And it's almost like it was a very special relationship, because they wanted to let me know that my birth mother loved me very much and only put love into the idea. And that's how I got there. My dad had this expression saying, I was the apple of his eye, right? So I was already born into their hearts, these kinds of things. My parents are very poetic, and they helped to influence me. But yeah, so that was my experiences. People would ask, so how's it feel to be adopted? And I go, I don't know what that means. It's just a part of me. And I guess that's that detachment you're talking about. I never really thought to make it a problem. It was more of just a trait. So my whole life has just been, kind of sharing my story, being, oh, have you met your mom? Have you tried to look out? No, haven't done that. I'm trying to get a job or trying to finish school. It just wasn't at the top of the list, because, emotionally I was okay with it. I reconciled with whatever emotions some people might have trouble with. But yeah, so it was just, again, it was kind of just a luck of the draw that I decided to go look for her, and great success.
So Christine, the family you chose is definitely the one that Nick ended up with?
No.
Ah,
No.
what
That's
happened?
another twist. Yes.
Okay.
There are so many twists. And if there are any screen play writers listening, please contact us. I think we have, the makings of a really interesting film here.
Yeah.
So the agency I chose, American Friends of Children, actually closed the year after Nick was born because of suspected brown and black market babying. So essentially selling babies. And there's lots of crafty ways that were technically legal, but whatever. Now, I didn't know this because I didn't stay in touch with the agency afterwards, really. And so when Nick and I were on the phone the first time and he's telling me about his family, I'm like, that doesn't sound like the family I chose. And then there was something else. And actually, there was something he said about me that didn't sound right. And I'm like, you know what? I think we should just anyway do the genetic test anyway, because there were these little questions. So when we met the next day, he brought I brought all of the paperwork that I had, at least that didn't reveal the birth dad, and he looked at the profile. He's like, nope, this is definitely not my folks. And so I said, but are they in there somewhere? And sure enough, they were in there somewhere. Now, they were my second choice in my list. So that also made me feel better.
Okay.
They were different on the birth dad's list. So no, they apparently placed them with a different family.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But Nick, it sounds like you had a good family, a good upbringing.
Yeah. I mean, yes, absolutely. I had a very privileged upbringing. My mother was very well educated. My father as well. They met each other in law school. So my father was a doctor and a lawyer, and my mother was a lawyer and a teacher at UNC Law School. Caroline Brown is her name. Thomas Brown was my father. He did a lot with medicine and addiction treatment in North Carolina. So yeah, I grew up around a lot of law, a lot of medicine, and a lot of religion. I grew up with a very strong Jewish upbringing. and that didn't at all infringe upon my identity as being adopted. But yeah, I had a very lovely upbringing, lots of love, lots of education, just lots of support, lots of traveling. I will say that is one thing I was very lucky to have, is my parents made sure that we would do all kinds of cultures, just be exposed, no hiding. And again, I think that's what has brought me to the kind of confidence that I've brought with the relationship.
And I love that you used the word confidence. I don't know. I have to highlight that, that practice and being able to be exposed and put yourself out there. I don't know.
Sure.
I know that's a separate little topic here, but I feel like we need to highlight that. That's so good. I'm happy for you.
Thank
That's
you.
good. Yeah.
I call it courage.
Courage. Yeah,
well, I appreciate that. Yeah, no, it's always just seemed like, I guess I appreciate that, because you don't really think about it when you move through life, because you can really get hung up on just those little tiny things that might hold you back from something, and you just let it go.
Yeah. It can take practice. I know
Yes.
I've had to practice that myself in life. But okay, so I love this. I love how much we're getting out of this. Thank you so much for being here and sharing. This was for our audience. This was like just a little over a week ago. Christine shared on social media just a little bit of this story, and I was literally moved to tears. Like, not just a little, like, oh, a little tear. Like, I was crying at home. Oh, this is so good. And I know, Christine, you just mentioned this, could be a movie, and Tamara was also with us in the chat, and also saying that, where is she? She said, sounds like a movie script. And I agree. I know there are lots of synchronicities that are part of the story, and you maybe shared a little bit here, but I know we haven't really gotten into it. So Is it time to get into some of those synchronicities here, or is there something else that wants to be shared first? It sounds like we covered a lot of the beginning, and Nick had a nice family life.
I guess the only thing I want to add is that I actually had access to my adoption papers, and I was surprised at the amount of information they gave me. Now, I've never seen my birth certificate. This is something that has been forever. I've never seen the actual original. But as far as the adoption information, it detailed what her brothers did, what her grandmother did, the health. I mean, I felt like I had everything but the names. And it was just kind of like, and they each had to write, a little snippet about themselves.
Wow.
Like, kind of towards me. And it was funny. Like, I instinctually was like, yeah, I dig my mom. I feel like my mom and I have like very similar personalities. And then I read my father, and no offense to him, but it just kind of felt like he wasn't exactly on my personality. But yeah, I always was like, yeah, I'm connected to my mother in some way, for sure.
And that blows my mind right there, that you had access to that information, but that had to have been that had to have played such a big role in I want to say you having peace about knowing some of your background.
Honestly, I'm gonna say it didn't change anything. It was more enlightening. I was really appreciative to get that information. I kind of made up an imaginative story in my head about how things went, and that just keeps you going along. It doesn't really do anything. It's a malleable story, and it was just interesting to get actual facts and kind of change my mental story.
Wow. Okay. I think someone was gonna share something next. Christine, were you gonna say something?
Well, you say synchronicities. I mean, obviously, everything seems to be a synchronicity, even what we've talked about already. And what he shared about the adoption information that he has was true. I didn't know what the birth family or the adoptive family received in terms of details about me or my family. So I was shocked at the detail, because it wouldn't take even a half-hearted effort by any PI to find, the family, if he wanted to do that. So that was interesting. And then the other thing is that, Nick's connection, I'm going to interject this, is that when he had that interest about looking for his adoptive family's ancestry, and he went through Ancestry, he actually did find me, or the spark about finding me came because he was connected to someone who is probably my half sister out there.
And did you know that? Did you know that, Nick?
Oh no. The percentage was something close to like a half sibling or a further generation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's the other thing too. At least, and Nick can correct me if I'm wrong, but when I hear him tell the story, like to me, that who's like the excitement of actually like connecting to someone he was related to is what he's like, okay, now I'm going to find my birth mom. So I'm forever thankful of that for sure. And the other thing I'll say too is I wanted to speak just briefly to, like, I am not North Carolina native. I am not a Baltimore, Maryland native either. And so Nick was raised thinking that I was a Baltimore, Maryland native because that's where he was born. So the career that I chose had me moving constantly, like almost every year, because the stores were in tertiary markets. So if I wanted to be promoted, I needed to be able to relocate to the next larger store. And so I happened to have been in Maryland when I got pregnant. And so and Nick doesn't even know this yet. I went back and counted how many moves I had after Nick was born until I landed where I am today. 16.
Okay, wait, we have to highlight that. So oh my goodness. So he was born in Maryland, which is not even where you were originally from. And you've moved 16 times since then. And here you both land in the same geographical area.
Yeah, like he's 45 miles from me.
Not even an hour from each other.
Yeah, I mean, it's like and of all the places on the planet, like literally he could be living anywhere on the planet.
Yeah. And I have family in Saxville.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so that's one. I think you shared a snippet of that with me, and I didn't know the extent of that. That's amazing. Okay.
Yeah. It was 6 different states and 16 different moves, and I moved multiple times within a state. But I just thought this would be fun to throw on the show because I knew I moved a lot with my career, and it just gives more evidence as to. I don't know what you call it. For me, it's about following flow. And I don't, why did I land in Saxbaha? I have no idea. 5 years after landing in Saxbaha, all of a sudden my birth son contacts me. So, and so that's one other thing I just want to squeeze in here too, is that I want to just briefly share my decision for not looking for Nick. And so when I felt that knowing about my decision, part of that came with the recognition that he didn't choose that. Obviously, right. As an infant, it wasn't his choice to be placed for adoption. And the other thing that I discovered in talking with the agency is that there was no requirement of the adoptive family to tell the birth child whether they were adopted or not. And so I was not going to be someone who would completely disrupt somebody's life just for a desire, to connect with someone.
Respect.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm not sure I would have called it that, but yeah, I think you're right.
Absolutely.
Respect. And it isn't, and that is another piece of the story that is challenging for people to understand. I had even my mom said, well, surely you've been hoping that this would happen. And I'm like, no, I haven't sat here and with bated breath been hoping that Nick would Nick, I know him as Nick now, would find me. Because now maybe that is how I practice unattachment, but because of my choice, and it wasn't like I'm sacrificing myself or I was a martyr about it or anything. It was just, this was my decision. I'm not going to search for him. And so that's why I made sure my info was readily available. There were 2 adoption databases at the time that I made sure all my info was on. And apparently this database that Nick came across was, compilation database that kind of draws from different databases, which is why I didn't have an account there. And that's why he found my full name and my phone number, because I wanted to, if he looked for me, he could find me. And obviously with my practice of a coach, I'm very visible online. I have videos and blogs and, all kinds of stuff. So when he plugged that in, I only have one phone number. That's my business phone number. So he found me that way as well. And so yeah, I wanted to share that as well, that it's been, and I never sat there and said, I wonder what it would be like if he found me. I didn't even sit in that space. So when it happened, I mean, it's almost like, I don't even know how to describe it, because I didn't think about what it would feel like. I've only been feeling it. And what I say, and it's very true, he's reminded me what joy feels like. And so with him re-entering my life, I'm like, oh, this is what joy is. Okay, I remember. I happen to have a genetic chronic illness, and it's put me through the ringer. So there have been years that I've been really, really struggling. So to have this contrast of joy, it's like, oh, what a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing. And I want to highlight for everyone. So thank you for sharing that unique aspect of it, because that's one thing that's unique about the story for you, is that you weren't this birth mother longing to, necessarily reconnect, and there's no negativity in that, right? Like it's completely clear and free of any tension, energy, and you were just in the flow with it all. And that may be unique to a lot of other people's stories, but what also makes this story so unique is because of the synchronicities, and that everything is possible, that, when you stay in the flow, things continue to work out and connect. And so anybody out there who, has a different adoption story, I just, I want to say it's so good that we have here, this example of respecting other people and their lives and not wanting to interfere in all of that. And at the same time, I just want to reaffirm for people that regardless of circumstances, there's always hope. So if you are that person seeking to reconnect and find that loved one, and it hasn't happened in a week or the next day or whatever, don't give up hope. Don't give up hope. Flow really, really matters. And that's a whole other conversation. But I just want to highlight that for everybody, because it's a very beautiful story. Nick, what do you make of the fact that she lived so close, and the aspect of her being able to share with you that it feels like she's feeling joy again in her life as a result of you coming back?
Oh, it's a wonderful relationship we're developing. And I mean, it's so unique that I think I've expressed this to her as well. It's just like, you got to take advantage of it. I mean, there's no way you can experience this multiple times. And now with the channels as opened as they are, it's like, let's let it flow, let it go. And we've been hitting it off really well, really easily. We're fine setting boundaries. That's been a big thing for us. It's just making sure we establish boundaries if we feel like we need to. Like, hey, Ma, I got to go to bed. Sorry, can't listen to you. Got to go to bed. So it's interesting. It's like, because unfortunately my parents have passed, and getting a new mom is kind of, it's weird, right? Because it's not like she's my, right? I mean, I don't know how to explain it, but it's the connection that I'm savoring. And I just am curating this relationship because it's very, very cool and unique. So at the very least, we're really good friends.
And at the very and Nick has siblings. I don't think we've mentioned that yet.
Oh, so. Yeah. I got 4 other siblings. So
Are you where are you in the birth order? Are you the oldest?
Middle, right in the middle. My mother had 2 in a previous marriage, and then I have twin sisters who are younger than me.
Okay.
Yeah, shout out if you're listening, Hannah, Matt, Carrie, Miriam, your families. Love you.
That's awesome. Okay, so Nick, that's another fascinating aspect of this story, is that your parents have already passed. They've already transitioned on, and now here you are with another mother entering your life, and I heard you call her mom, and let's just highlight that we are nearing. Okay, so I'm going to highlight we are nearing the end of the show, but we're not done yet. So let's touch on the titles, the labels, using those with each other's. It's Nick. Let's start with you.
Okay. So I, again, growing up in a family that is very literature based, right? There's lots of play to do. So I love nicknames. It's always been more of an idea of endearment rather than an identity. So when she says sunshine, it's like, yeah, like that's how she identifies me. That's lovely. And I call her mama because it just flows, right? And that's what I've picked. There's not necessarily one thing that made me go that way. It just comes out, and that's nice.
And I'm going to put this on the screen because. And did it go? Oh, here, hold on. Sunshine. So Christine, you call him your sunshine, S-O-N.
Yes. Well, when we reconnected and I shared on my post that I've been very, very private about my birth motherhood up until coming out recently about it. And so I was making calls to those selected few people and texting them pictures of Nick, and all of them said some iteration of, look at the light in his eyes. He's so bright. Look at that smile lighting up everything was about lightness and brightness and whatever. And so I didn't consciously say, let me find a word to represent this. It's just at some point when I texted him, I said sunshine and I used S-O-N instead of S-U-N. And it just, for me, it felt right. And when we met the day after he found me, we decided, on the phone when we met, we decided we call each other our names, Nick and Christine, and which was fine by me. And as a side note, I've done no studying or anything about the best way to reune with, birth children or whatever.
This is because this is uncharted territory for most people. Like, how do you do this?
Normally as a Virgo, I do a lot of research, but it really didn't, it crept up on me. Nick says, I surprised you twice, so I didn't have time to research. And so when we were together the next evening, and it was just clickety, 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 click, so much alike. And Nick even says his siblings, when they saw some videos of me online, when he found me, oh my God, she's just like you or whatever. But we're winding up the night, and he goes, and correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, this is how I remember it. When I open my mouth, Christine doesn't want to come out of it. And I said, well, to myself, what does? And he said, mama. And I said, or mom, he said. And I was like my heart just flip-flopped, and I said, and I caught my breath, and I said, okay. And I think he said, what do you think about that? I said, okay, we'll say something and then say mom.
Right.
And then he did, and he said mom, and my heart flipped again. And I said, you know what, Nick? I said, I think it's really important that you call me mom. I said, I think this is, I could be sitting here and feel like I've just met my new best friend because we're so simpatico in so many ways. Mm-hmm. I said, and I am your birth mom. I'm your mom. So I think it's important for me, for a reality check, to know, I'm mom. And I've just loved it ever since. I just love it.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I'm drawing a blank here. I want to highlight some of our audience comments who are also loving this story today. We have Marty acknowledging that his grandson is adopted, and boy, does she bring so much joy to our lives. And we have Tamara saying, we are witnessing love today. I completely agree with that. We have Misty with us saying, this is absolutely amazing. I completely agree. And of course, Tamara saying, my mind is blown. I agree. It's such a beautiful story. Are there... Okay, now we're towards the end where we're gonna, in a moment, I'll ask for your final thoughts. But Christine, are there any other synchronicities or details of this story that you'd like to share before I ask for final thoughts?
Oh my gosh.
Or Nick, yeah, same with you. I mean,
Food.
Okay, share it.
So my mother has a limited diet, and then she told me what her favorite. She was hanging out with a friend and was telling me what her favorite meal was. And it was a steak with a baked potato, and I was just like, yeah, I mean, any day of the week, that's my meal, totally. So that's when I really started honing in and listening, being like, okay, I think there's a lot more in common than I know.
We have little things like he's driving a blue Honda. I own 2 blue Hondas, and I've owned 4 cars my whole life. 2 of them were blue Hondas. I don't know. I probably have them written down somewhere
Yeah.
because for a while I was taking notes on things because I didn't want to forget it.
Well,
But
wait. I'm going to go back to the steak
Yeah.
and baked potato. So wait,
Yeah.
Nick, that's your favorite. Is that Christine's favorite too?
Yeah.
From my understanding.
Yep. Yeah. And we were keeping, and I still have a running list, by the way, Nick. I think we've just fallen off asking each other, but we were keeping running lists of rando questions we were asking each other just out of the blue, right? Texting and whatnot. And that was one of them, like favorite food, favorite meals. And I said something about, my favorite meal is filet mignon, medium rare, baked potato, tons of butter, sauteed onions. And he said something like, yeah, mine exactly, except I like mushrooms or something like that. And I'm like, I used to like mushrooms as well, So
did you have any cravings when you were pregnant that Nick? No, nothing. Okay, just curious. Okay.
No, the thing is, I had such a symptom-free pregnancy. So if I had a craving, I wouldn't have probably known it was a craving.
Okay.
I can't think of anything.
That's okay. That's okay. This is such a beautiful story. And I know that there are more details. The reason why I went to Christine first is because I know Christine and I talked recently and she was kind of blowing my mind with all these different things. So Nick, I'm glad you jumped in there with food. That's good to hear. This is such a beautiful story. I'm so happy for you. I hope that those of you watching, again, whether you're live or on the replay, I hope that you've allowed yourself to feel that flow of love surge up within you. Like, God, I feel like I could almost cry, but it's just like happy tears. Like, so it's beautiful, right? It's so beautiful.
I've had to check my heart rate at least twice. So,
So thank you for sharing with all of us today. And I do hope that it becomes, I know, Chris, there's been a mention of a book. And
well, I said I'm going to write about it. And then Nick said, hey, what if I contribute, like, from my perspective? And I went, oh, that would be awesome.
I love it. Okay, so now we've actually gone a little over. So I'm going to ask for just like a 1 sentence. I know this is a short, but 1 sentence, final thoughts. Nick, let's start with you.
I am so lucky to have this experience. And if anybody has the opportunity to reach out and meet their birth parent, do not hesitate. Take that leap.
Beautiful. And Christine, how about you?
I would say be true to yourself and own your intuition, what it's telling you, and follow your heart.
Beautiful. Thank you for both of you again for being here, for following your heart and those little intuitions and nudges. I don't think we quite highlighted it, but you guys connected on the phone one day and then immediately met the next day, had a photo shoot, and everything just continued to unfold from there. And it's fascinating. So, keep your eyes open for the future movie and book of Christine and Nick. And have an amazing day, feeling the love flow in your life. Thank you for being with us. We'll see you all again very, very soon.
I want to say thank you for joining us today and welcome you back next Sunday as we once again are joined by a panel of subject matter experts that will explore and focus in on our fabulous lives. Until next Sunday.